What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Engineer Different podcast. Today, I am joined by Emmanuel Boakye. Emmanuel is a student at the Rochester Institute of Technology, School of Individual Studies, and he is studying applied arts and sciences, where he combines his passion for software engineering, entrepreneurship, and neuroscience into one program. Emmanuel has had the opportunity to take his skills in software engineering and apply them in an entrepreneurial fashion. This has allowed him to go from just writing code to building ideas and products to improve our day to day lives. In today's episode, we dive into what it takes to go from a simple STEM student to an entrepreneur and how Emmanuel is building his own lane combining tech, business, and innovation. If you are someone in STEM who wants to take it to the next level and dive into an entrepreneurial path, the first mistake you'll make on the journey is not watching this episode. Let's go. All right, Emmanuel, what's going on? Happy to have you on here today. So let's go back to the beginning. Right now, you were going into your fourth year at the Rochester Institute of Technology. We're just going to say RIT for short, for those who don't know what RIT stands for. Rochester Institute of Technology. You're currently going to your fourth year, but let's go back to the beginning. Let's go take a trip down memory lane. How'd you get to where you are today?
I don't know. It's like, mom, I feel like that's a great question that I get a lot of times. I don't even know how to answer, but like how I got to Rochester, it's
Uh,
like it was more of schools. One, I didn't want to be close to home. It's like I kind of wanted my independence. So it was like I looked to schools far away from home, and New York was like a huge factor of a lot of that I was hearing from a lot of people. So I looked into schools in New York. And then I feel like the ultimate factor too is like God. Because it's like I feel like I didn't know anything about RIT, but I brought it up at school during like a high school talk with a counselor, and then she out of nowhere was like, "Oh, I went to RIT. I was an alumni there." I didn't hear anything or I didn't know anything about RIT, but with that first interaction, I was like, "Okay, this is a school I could consider. This is a school I'm gonna look into." And then from there, I just applied, and then God just did the rest, and I guess I'm just here. So it's a lot of different factors that got me here, but I don't know. Like at the end of the day, I don't really know what it truly is.
And honestly, that's amazing to hear because it's like one of those things. Like, hey, sometimes you gotta put your trust in God, and He'll guide you to where He's gonna be guided. You know what I mean? So you say you want to be far from home. Where do you come from? Where do you come from?
Originally, I was born and raised in Ghana, West Africa, and
Oh,
then
okay,
from
okay.
there, yeah, yeah. At the age of 11, I kind of just moved from Ghana to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then yeah, from Charlotte, North Carolina. Now I'm up here in Rochester, New York.
Wow, so that must have been quite a transition. Going, you're from
Yep.
Ghana and then coming all the way to North Carolina. How was that like for you?
It was a lot. I feel like, just kind of readjusting. I had to readjust, which I still haven't adjusted yet because to this day, I'm still learning new American culture, a lot of things I don't know. It's like, it's a big readjustment that I had to figure out. Like middle school, people were treating me differently because I didn't know just how to fit in to the
Mm.
American culture. So it was a lot. It was a huge transition for me, and I didn't really have anybody to guide me through. My dad wasn't able to help me out. I didn't have any friends around at the time, so it was like it was a hard transition for me, but we made it through.
Fair. What do you think was the hardest part of that transition?
The hardest part about the transition, I'd say definitely the culture. Trying to pick
Mm.
up on the culture that you don't know anything about, and then trying to do it right. Because it's like there's you trying to pick up on another like somebody else's culture, but you just have to be able to do it right in the sense that like the lingo that you use. It's like maybe back in Ghana, I might say something. It might come off a different way. But
Yeah.
now I'm here. If I say it this way, it might rub somebody off in the wrong way. So it's just
Oh,
having
okay.
to learn the do's and don'ts, what to say and what not to say, what to do and what not to do, for sure.
Interesting, and that's something that, especially at the young age of 11, too. You weren't just like,
Yeah.
especially at that time, 11 years old. The adolescence phase is when you are kind of adjusting to not just adjusting to a place, but who you are as a person. Essentially, that's a lot of the identity and the person who you are is built around that time. That's where that foundation starts. So you have to pick up on that culture. You have to readjust again. And I mean, now you are here up in RIT. So now you've gone through middle school, you've gone through high school, now you're in college now, right? So tell me, you're coming in as a fourth year now, right? And I know you are in the School of Individual Sciences, so you know you are kind of
Mhm.
culmination of many different things. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Uh, could you repeat that? The last part.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about that? You know, the School of Individual Sciences, because I know you are, you know, you're doing some parts of software engineering, doing some parts of
Mhm.
neuroscience, you're doing some parts of MIS. You know, tell us a little bit about that. You know,
Well, so I mean, coming in, it's like coming into college, I started all around the place. Like, funny enough, I came in as microelectronics computing, which I was like, I wanted to build chips. And then I got here, I was like, okay, that's not what I want to do. But the idea of it sounds nice. And then I switched into computer science and then software engineering and then web and mobile. So it's like I switched around a lot. But what made the switch easy was because a lot of the prerequisites were the same. So it made the switches back and forth easier because it sounds like, oh, a switch in like that short amount of time is kind of crazy. But it's like it was all to say that it's like I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do because what I wanted to do was be able to do everything, any and everything that I could possibly just have the opportunity to. So then I ended up hearing about Swiss, which I was kind of hoping I did from the very beginning. That would have made things a lot easier. But I think it was at an information session or a friend of mine's was in Swiss mentioned, oh, there's a major here or a program here that allows you to sort of create your own thing. So if you can't figure out a major or something specific to you, you could create your own thing. You could pick and choose classes that you want and then combine it to sort of make it your own. I was like, okay, that sounds interesting enough because what's the point of college? I mean, you're here to figure yourself out and also
exactly.
figure out like a career path that you want to do. So I think that's when Swiss came about, and then with that, I just kind of nitpicked with little interest of mine. Neuroscience has kind of been a little geek thing that a little geekish passion that I have personally. So I was like, okay, let's add classes to that so I could just learn general concepts. MIS, I think it's just a mix of software and business that kind of drew me to it. So I was like, okay, I love business. Let's go into something that aligns with the software aspect of things. And then software engineering, I like programming. I think just the flexibility that it gives. Let's try to combine all of those things together. So I was like, okay, through MI and through Source, I'm gonna do all of these little things, and that's what I'm doing now.
So you did mention, right, that you do enjoy business, you know, and you talked about how combining the sphere of technology and the sphere of business, something that appeases you, something that you find pretty interesting. So that kind of that's interesting, right? Because it's always a thing that a lot of people going into technology, you know, and you also look at the big big tech companies today. You know, you look at Facebook, you look at Netflix or Amazon, right? All kind of small tech experiences that grew into a larger business sphere, right? That we use in our day to day activities now, right? So it's always in technology. It's always interesting that people not just focus on the tech part, but the innovation and business part, right? So
Mhm.
outside of like MIS, right? You know, with your classes and all that kind of stuff, how did you go about learning that balance between business and technology and things that you were involved in to involve technology and business?
I think that I kind of got into that somewhere around second year. I'm in second semester of my first year. I'd go to like club meetings and then some of the people would throw around shameless plugs. Oh, take this class or do this, do that.
Right.
So I think just me being a listening attentive person that I am, I was like, okay, sounds interesting enough. I got involved. And through me getting involved, I was able to hear about classes, which was a seminar or it was an entrepreneurial mindset 101 class that I was introduced to. And then from there, I took that my freshman year. That second semester, it was a asynchronous class, which pretty much all that class was RIT alumni that's kind of made it into the business. That's made it big into business. They've breaking like they've pretty much created something for themselves. Entrepreneurship, some entrepreneurial path that they've made for themselves. They bring them in, and then they give us a talk about how they got started and where they are now and where they're looking forward to again. So every week you get new speakers. So I think I did that class for that semester, and just through that, my love for just owning my own business kind of grew through there. So from there, my second year, I just kept getting involved, which RIT Simone Center, RIT Simone Center was a big thing. I ended up getting myself involved there. And then a friend, Josh, brought me on board to, oh, okay, I have an idea I want to work on for an app called On Call for business, for nurse, for the healthcare sector. So you want to work on something together. So it's like, it was a culmination of little things that I was doing. And then through those little things that I was doing, I got to meet people that put me into those places that I wanted to be. And then from there, the love for it just kind of keeps growing and growing. So it's just a full circle moment with most of these things. It's just from hearing about it to taking classes in it to then meeting people who are also interested in entrepreneurship, and then somebody bringing you onto their team, and then you working on a business idea, and then okay, now you've worked on a business idea, you like it enough, so you want to make something of your own. So now you keep exploring, trying new things, they fail, trying new things, they fail. So I think that love for that and the trial and error part of it is kind of what got me interested in it.
And that's so the importance of perspicacity. Always listening, always being attentive, always being aware, or shrewdness, if you, another term if you want to say so. But that's definitely interesting, right? Because being able as coming in as a first year, most people are kind of thinking like, let me go get my degree. I go to a big company, Fang, Meta, or whatever company that they're interested in working with, right? And it's
Mhm.
interesting, that entrepreneur phrase, right? And what I found pretty interesting that you mentioned was kind of talking about you had a chance to, through you said business accelerator, to be able to dive deeper into actually going through the process of having an idea, which you mentioned about healthcare, right? Can you dive a bit
Mhm.
deeper into that? Your experience with, starting off with the idea, actually putting into the action, the technical part, and then also the business part as well, going ahead, pitching your idea, presenting it to people, and like just dive deeper into your involvement within that experience.
Okay. Uh, that experience overall was a 10 out of 10. I feel like that kind of was like a pivot or like a pivotal point for everything entrepreneurship for me. I got to learn a lot. I got to meet a lot of new people. But with the way that idea kind of started was a friend of mine's, Josh, he's been working on it since high school, and
Mm,
RIT's kind of been around them, sponsoring them, taking them to, competitions, and he's been placing in huge places with his idea. So
wow.
his idea had attraction. Even local news picked him up and made a little, gave him a little airtime on his idea. So it had attraction. So he got to college. He was like, okay, what if I want to make something out of it? And that's what exactly he did. He went to Anthony Testa, which Anthony Testa is a great guy within the Simone Center, and now Saunders, great guy. He went to him. He talked to him. Okay, I have this idea, and you know about this idea. If I want to make it a thing, how do I get it started? What approaches do I take? Who do I need to talk to? So I think with that, just kind of asking him, and then from there, with that, just kind of asking him, okay, where do I start? Who do I need on my team? Such and such. That's what Josh did. And from there, he was like, okay, I'll need a UI UX designer. I'll need a business guy, which he was a business guy himself. So he took that
Okay.
portion. I'll need a software guy. So it's just collecting the pieces, which he ended up putting the pieces together. And then I was one of those pieces. I came and then I joined the team. Fast forward, we applied for the accelerator program through RIT Simone Center at that time. We get in, and then the whole process going through it is doing a lot of market research. Okay, cool. You guys want to work within the healthcare sector. You guys want to work with nurses. So cool. That's an idea, but you have to do your market research into, okay, is this idea viable? Are
Mm,
people going to need the service that you're going to provide them? And if they don't necessarily need it, how could you be of value to somebody or someone? So just doing your research for one, talking to people was a big aspect of it. We had to talk to over 300 people to just
wow.
kind of get their inputs on it. Nurses included, administrators within healthcare departments. We have to talk to everybody to see, okay, this and this is what we're trying to situate or take care of. How do you feel about it? What's your own personal problem that you're having, and how can, as we're doing this, how can we sort of tackle for it? So a lot of research, a lot of talking to people to sort of, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. Is it going to work out? do people need this? Because you just don't want to get it endeavor into something that people don't need, and then it's just a lost cause. It has to be able to change, make an impact in some way, some form. So we did a lot of that, and that was a big part of the business. That was a huge side of the business aspect of things, just market research and figuring everything out, talking to people. And then the technical side was just us building the platform, which I worked on the front end, and then Chad worked on the back end. So it's just a lot of working pieces that had to come together to make an idea like that work, which we're still nowhere near where we want to be, which makes sense because business Rome wasn't built in a day, and
Correct.
you're
Yeah,
not
that's a
able to
great
get a
quote.
business like that up and running that quick. So it's still in its working phases.
So, what would you say was harder? Would you say the technical part is harder or the actual business part? Because I like what you said, especially talking about that it doesn't matter how good your application actually is itself or how good, like, design, how technical, how smooth the UI is, how nice this looks, how nice that looks, if the actual foundation of the idea isn't actually good, not just good, but viable for people to use. So, what would you say was the difficult part? Would you say just actually building the product itself or the actual preparation to building that product?
I think the preparation to building the product was the hardest part. Like building the actual product, I want to say is hard because technical expertise, if you can't handle that yourself, you can outsource it. You can hire
Mm,
somebody who's good enough to do that for you. Or with AI being a factor now, you can have AI spin up a prototype for you that quick. You just give it instructions. So technical aspect of things now is not hard anymore. It's not hard anymore. But the other aspect, which is building it from the ground up, the business aspect of things, is the hard part. Because one, you have to be a people person. You have to be able to talk to people. Because you have to be able to talk to people and then have people talk back to you. Which there's 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 secrets and tricks to it that you have to figure out. Communication is a broad field, a broad aspect of things that you have to master. So just being able to be a people person, being able to talk to people and figuring out their problems and, just extracting important informations that you need as you're talking to them and also being able to convey your point. Because it's not just talking to them just to talk to them and them talk back to you. You have to be able to make sense as you're talking, convince them in some way, some shape or form. So it's just, I feel like the hardest part was definitely getting the business up and running, which that includes the communication aspect of things. You have to be able to, like I said, communicate, and then communication portion aside, have people that kind of can guide you to where you want to get to. Because there's you working on something, you have an idea and working on it, but you not having the right people in your corner to influence you, guide you, sort of mentor you to get you to where you want to get to is hard. So you need a lot of things to get it up and running. But once you do, the technical aspect of things is not hard at all.
So let's talk about that a bit more, right? And what you mentioned is a super crucial skill, people person, communication, right? So you dived into the importance of being a people person, being able to communicate and all that kind of stuff, right? So now say if me personally,
Hmm.
right, or someone comes up to you like, hey Emmanuel, right? I'm kind of quiet, I'm
Hmm.
kind of timid, I'm a bit shy, right? I can talk when like we can have quick conversation, but it's very difficult for me to go out and actually communicate with people, right? If someone comes up to you and says that, right? How would you go about like, and now say they want to actually improve, right? They say, okay, Emmanuel, right? I have this great idea for this business, fantastic idea. It's like the next, I don't know, big Facebook or whatever idea that you want to come up with. And I want to get better at being a better communicator. I want to be a better people person. What tips would you offer that person? Or if anyone's watching this right now, what tips can you offer to help them break that shell, or what practical things or what mentality mindsets that maybe you even learned from the entrepreneurs that you spoke with, right? You took that class before, that
Hmm.
entrepreneurs you spoke with. What are some little tidbits, takeaways that you can offer that person to help them become a better communicator, better people person, that overall will help them become a better business person?
Okay. And that's a great question. And just to preface it, it's like nobody's ever a good communicator. It's like communication, I feel like it's a huge skill trait to max out. If you're thinking of it in the terms of a gamer or like just maxing things out, it's a
Hmm.
huge, broad field. So nobody's ever a great communicator. But I think it's just understanding that communicating to convey a point. That's what you have to understand. Let's take it back. My freshman year, I was a huge introvert. I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't talk to people. just because it's just I didn't feel comfortable doing so, and I didn't know how to approach talking to people because it just wasn't a thing for me. But getting to my second year, I started opening up a bit more. So I think to just open up and get better at communicating, you have to put yourself in the right spaces, the right circle, surround yourself with the right people. I think it starts there. You talk to them and then they talk back to you. It's just having that open communication for sure. And then put yourself in uncomfortable situations for sure too. Because if you don't put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, you won't be able to grow. Say I'm an introvert. I don't want to like say I'm an introvert, right?
Okay.
To be to open up and get to where I want to get to, which I'm a perfect middle ground now. I'm not I wouldn't say now I'm a complete extrovert now. No, I'm a perfect middle ground, but it's just recognizing when is what, like that code switching aspect. When is it good for me to be an introvert? When is it good for me to be an extrovert? So just
That's
I'm a
important as
perfect middle
well.
ground at that point. So you putting yourself in that uncomfortable situation is okay, cool. You see somebody, take the initiative, go up to them, talk to them. You're at a networking event, go up to people, talk to them. Even if you say, hi, my name is such and such, those little conversations will lead to something more. Introduce yourself. Those common little informations that you might share, there might be similarities with that. And then from there, you could just pinpoint that and then move from there and talk about that. So think of it in this aspect of like a pyramid sort of aspect. Talk about one thing or keep talking about certain things. And then from there, if there's similarities within a certain thing that you've talked about, move on to that. And then with that funneling idea going down the pyramid scheme, you're gonna keep narrowing down on the similarities that you guys keep sharing and just keep narrowing it all the way down. And then from there, you guys have shared a lot of similarities that you have in common. And it's like as you're talking about those other like relevant or irrelevant information is gonna come alongside that. That kind of just makes everything better at the end, is what I would say. If you kind of get where I'm coming from, so it's like
Yeah.
talk about information, just throw it all out there, and then as you're talking about it, there's going to be similarities and common factors that you guys will throw around. Move on to the common factor, talk about that. And as you're talking about that, another common factor will come in and then move on to that. And then as you keep doing that, I feel like things you start like it start again, it doesn't stay uncomfortable. It's just you get comfortable, speaking and talking. So I think that's how I approach things because it made it easier for me. And that was my approach to things, just having to learn that on my own and do that on my own before I moved on to the bigger and better things with entrepreneurship and trainings that I did. So definitely also put yourself out there for trainings because I took leadership courses, I took leadership classes. I just wanted to put myself out there so I'm able to just better myself. So also be open to learning and to be open to bettering yourself and taking courses, certificates, anything. So that's what I did personally, and that's what other people could follow to get to where they want to get to.
So basically, taking the resources that you have at hand, right? Those trainings, just kind of putting yourself out there, even though it might seem, because usually us as humans, like going up to someone, the first thing we think, like when we go up to them, it's gonna be like, yeah, no, I don't want to talk to you, go away, right? But it's just
Hmm.
kind of understanding that people actually do want to talk with us, right? And people are actually just as scared as for us to go up to some person, that person that wants to come up to us as well, they're probably just as scared as well, right? So
Hmm.
I think
So,
is kind of understanding that it's kind of understanding that we make things much more scary than it has to be, right?
yeah,
And we make things
yeah.
much more difficult. In reality, people are well, the majority of people. I don't know. You might have some really mean guys like, yeah, no, I don't want to talk to you. Go away, right? But I can't really tell a time that's ever happened to me. I'm not sure if you can. I'm sure you can probably say the same as well, right?
Hmm.
So that's important, and also it kind of it makes me to ask, right? That's kind of with
Hmm.
one-on-one conversations. Now I can imagine as like someone when you're pitching your idea, you're pitching your business idea, talking to a larger group of people, talking to like not like a one-on-one conversation, but a group of 10, 20 to even maybe hundreds, right? So now that's even more overwhelming experience rather than just talking with
Yeah.
you. I'm more talking with like a public speaking, a much more larger audience, right? How do you go about, I'm sure you have to, there's times where you have to go around speaking in a larger audience, speaking with a larger amount of people. So how do you go about, say, just handling the fear of actually speaking, public speaking, right? And how do you go about preparing for that and executing on that?
Huh. I mean, we had a public speaking class together.
Yeah, we
You
did. We did.
you could see you could see I was nervous in most of the presentations that we had. It's not something that you get good at easily, or just I feel like it comes with time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
sometimes it's also recognizing the environment that you're into. So it's like during that public speaking class, I feel like that environment, I was around my own peers, which my own peers are like sort of I'm subject to judgment from them. So I think that
Mm,
idea of thinking, oh, my own peers could judge me because we're around the same age group. This you start feeling some type of way, and then that and all just gets you nervous, and then it messes you up. And then there's the environment of, oh, okay, I'm around business professionals, adults, people that I need to present myself to properly, or be like just sort of portray that confidence to get my point across. So I think it's just recognizing those different environments and how you tackle those. But with those professional settings or professional environments, I feel like I just kind of look at them as just regular, ordinary people. I feel like just kind of take their statuses away from them, and then kind of feel like you're just talking to any regular human being, which I
mm,
kind of apply that same thing to, or I tried to apply that same thing to the public speaking class that we were trying to do, or just to any other like setting I am that I have to give a public speaking to. Just kind of take their statuses away. I'm just talking to a regular human being. I'm talking to a friend. I'm talking to a parent figure or somebody. Just I feel like just kind of that's the mindset you have to get into. That helped because one, when it came to our presentation, just having a lot of people sitting there watching us, it was nerve wracking.
yeah.
Backstage, I was sweating my hands off. I was sweating. Every part of me was sweating. But then a friend of mine came up to me and was like, just think of them like think of it like there's nobody there. It's an empty audience. You're just standing in an empty sort of room, empty crowd, nobody looking at you. Or just kind of just just view them as any regular people. Your friends just sitting there watching you, talk. Because if you have like if it's just you and your friends, you feel a lot more confidence to just be yourself and just do whatever you want. So that's the way I kind of approach public speaking. But that might just be how I approach it. There's
Right, right.
possibly a lot of like there's better ways, better approaches to it, but I feel like this is what works for me, and that's what I've done, and I feel like it's getting me there slowly but surely.
So the biggest thing is kind of one, figuring out yourself, and two, like I think what you mentioned was interesting. About it's not really about what we're saying or how much people we're talking to. It really kind of comes onto the environment. I loved how you mentioned that the environment really dictates how we speak
Hmm.
and how nervous we are, how prepared we are, how cool we are. Because for example, if I have like 10 friends at a dinner table out to talk in front of them, it's not a problem to talk with them at all, right? Now if I had like
Yeah.
10 random people I've never talked to in my life, like it's gonna be a bit more difficult to talk with. So I thought that was pretty interesting, right? And that kind of it reminds me like one time I think you probably remember my freshman rep speech. I don't know if you were there or not for Organization of African Students, right? I had to give a speech before my freshman rep. Just when you're gonna go up to a freshman representative, you need to give a speech and all that kind of wahala, right? So then the thing is, like, when I made my speech in the first place, I want to be very cordial, very, very like mellow, very monotone, very respectful, right?
Hmm.
Where it's just like, yeah, everyone's gonna know this guy's a very professional, very well laid out guy, right? But then when I started this speech, in like the first line, I tried to be like professional, like the way everyone's kind of reacting is like it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting hyped, I'm getting excited, right? Like they're getting excited and hyped. So now everything like their professionalness throws it out the window. Now you have to kind of advance and adjust it and change. Like, okay, now this is not the environment I expected, but I need to rework what I'm talking about and how I'm presenting my information to fit the certain environment and audience, right? And that kind of comes with like as you said, just going up to people when you go up to a public speaking environment, it's just as if thinking these are your regular everyday peers. These are just regular everyday people that you know. Because when you kind of put that mentality into your head, right, even though it might not seem like it in front of you, when you kind of put that mentality into your head, it helps a bit. It definitely does help a bit, right? And now that leads me to ask, right? Because I remember
Mhm.
you did mention earlier that one of the things part of entrepreneurship, not just communication, but the people you surround yourself with, right? And I love that, right? Like they say, your network is your net worth, essentially, right? So
Yep.
that makes me ask, right? How did you go around finding these mentors? How do you figure out going around finding this group of people, that help you, within STEM, within entrepreneurship, within the culmination of both? What are some people that really helped you a lot, some takeaways you got from them? And even the more important thing, how did you go about actually finding these people? How do you go around finding these groups and environments?
Well, it depends where you're at. Like if you're on a college campus, which there's a lot of opportunities on the college campuses to find these sort of people. But like if you're on the college campuses, I think it's just one. Like I'd recommend people sign up for like what's it called? News out. What's it called? It's this RIT just kind of has a notification system where you're
Like
able
a
to subscribe
newsletter.
to different colleges,
Oh, okay, okay,
newsletters
okay.
within different colleges. So
Yeah.
for one, I started by subscribing to those, and then once I did, there's events that they will post, or there's certification courses that they will post, or there's all these little visiting speakers or visiting just people, lecturers that will come in. So it's more of just having that subscription for one, and then once that information is being pushed out to you, you just kind of look through. If something interests you, okay, I want to go check it out. And if it doesn't interest you, but you're just kind of curious, you go check it out. And then from there, the various people that you may be sitting next to could be the very person that you can network with. And then
Okay.
from there, you know, from there something else is formed, or the speaker that they invited out to come speak could be somebody you could talk to or have a connection with. Oh, he's with such and so company, cool, I'll connect with him on LinkedIn, I'll reach back out to him, and then you have a talking point. Oh, I was at this event that you was at RAT. I kind of like the talk that you gave. It would be nice if I could have you as a mentor or somebody I could bounce ideas off of. So I think that's for one. That's first of all, first and foremost, one way to do it on the college campus. Two, it's also just kind of reaching out to your professors and advisors, your very own professors themselves, and RIT, for instance, or any other school. They're just not hiring any regular old professors. These professors have good backgrounds and histories to them within
Okay.
research, within industry. So for one, just getting close to them and kind of asking them, okay, could you mentor me? Could you refer me to such and so person? Do you know this? Do you know this person? So I think just getting close to your very own professors, they could also help you out, kind of put you onto important things that you know. So it's around us, which is the funny part. Like as I'm talking now, I'm realizing myself and I'm realizing it's like if you don't get to a certain stage in life, you don't realize a lot of these things. But once you get there, you do. But it's like all the things that I feel like we sometimes need is all around us. The people that we need to network with, it's all around us. It's like think of it like a hive. It starts with one, and then you connect the pieces from there. So one person that you'll meet, you can ask them for two, and then that two-person that you meet, you can individually ask them for two each or four, and then from there you could just build a network of people if you're willing to do that work and put yourself out there. So it's easy, but I feel like the work to do it is just the hard part, and it takes long, but it's there. So just your school around you, the newsletters, people, anything, it's out there.
Man, that's gold, man. Yo, when's the book coming out? When's that book coming out? Cause that's absolutely gold, And I think honestly, even me listening like that's probably one of the best networking advice I think I've ever heard in my life. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I'm not even like that's fantastic. Because what I love so much about that is being genuine. It's so genuous, right? Because I feel like a lot of
Hmm.
people is just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna connect to this guy so I can get a referral from him. Let me connect to him just so I can get this from him, right? It's always get. But I think people tend to forget the mutual connection, right?
Hmm.
That comes through mentorship, like how you mentioned. Like for example, you have a speaker that's like, say the speaker is like a president of a company, right? Instead of just going to the person on some random day and be like, hey, let me get a job from you, right? If you listen to him and create that common ground, and going back to what you talked about earlier, you kind of bring that back in again, finding that common ground of interest, right? Hey, I came to your talk and I enjoyed your talk. I enjoyed what you had to say. just for the sake of saying, just for like complimenting him, something that like just because you want to get like help and information, right? Not because you want to get a certain goal from him, a certain explanation from them, or not an explanation, but like a certain entity from them, right? But just genuinely be like, hey, I liked what you had to say. Let's keep in contact. And that's it. And that's why
Hmm.
I love that advice so much, because it's so genuine. It doesn't seem like you're trying to fish for something. It doesn't seem like you're trying to get something at the end of the day. Because at the end, it's really not what you get, but the journey along the way. You know what I mean? Because even if, say, like, you say if you want to get something from the person, right? Or you want to
Hmm.
get like a referral, or whatever you're trying to get at the end of the day, right? Even it's like, oh wait, that won't work, it doesn't matter, because
Hmm.
you are a genuine connection with that person. It's a genuine friendship, it's a genuine mentorship, right? And that's absolutely, that's gold advice, absolutely gold. Especially, I mentioned the word earlier, perspicacity, which, if you're listening to this right now, I'll go back and the part that Emmanuel just mentioned right now, go back and listen to it again. If you're not listening to it again, I don't know what you're doing, right? You're gonna miss out on something. It's something really really important there, right? And it just goes to show that if you're just being genuine, you just reaching out to people because you're not again, perspicacity, right? You are paying attention to these newsletters, paying attention to the professors, the very professors that are sitting there teaching you right in front of you. You get to see them in a face to face basis. That can help you, get that mentorship going, get some information going, get some things to understand, things to learn, some opportunities, right? So outside of those mentorships, outside of like in class newsletters, what about clubs? What kind of clubs that I know clubs as well can be a very good point to also
Yep.
get that foundation. So what kind of clubs that you are involved in that also help you with that as well?
And that's a good one that I forgot to bring up. But clubs too, for sure. I was in RCAI club, which I was interested in learning AI. So I put myself in a uncomfortable situation, which the uncomfortable situation is I didn't know much about it, but just being around people and people that knew about it, even the lingo, the talk, the little things that they say, this and that, you start to pick up on it. So clubs was definitely a big thing. Uh, I'm part of OES, but as just as a general body member,
Yeah.
or just in general, like just putting yourself in different aspects. Even rugby, I'm part of a rugby club here. Even it's just anywhere. It's like it doesn't matter what it is. I feel like anywhere you could definitely make a connection with. So it's just putting yourself in places that could help you. So RTAI Club, OAS, a few other. There's MOCA, which Men of Color Honor and Ambition, which is like a cohort program group, which any RAT student listening should definitely try to apply for when they hear about it or get the chance to. But yeah, it's just putting yourself out there, and if the club doesn't sound interesting to you, but I feel like just try to go take a look at it. You never know. You never know. It might be that one thing that gets you interested or gets you hooked. So I think just be a curious person for sure, and then check out clubs, check out any events that's happening on campus, because I feel like those are the little nuggets that you need.
So you did mention the AI club, right? And again, we talked about it earlier, throwing ourselves in uncomfortable situations in a speaking standpoint, and how you mentioned you did it here in AI club. You want to learn a bit more about AI, pick up on AI from there, right? So were you really into AI very much before joining the club? And when you hopped into the club, right? Was it like
Mhm.
okay, yeah, I'm here to learn AI, and how was that experience? Trying to pick up and learn AI, right? So you kind of dive into that a little bit, like joining the club beforehand. What you, because AI it's big, right? It's something that
Mhm.
not just, if you're not just a technology major in computer science, but like even me in cybersecurity, whether you're computer engineering, whether you're electrical, whatever field of STEM, should kind of have some kind of idea of AI in the workings of how it works, right? So kind of talk us into that. How did you go about building, like, okay, at first maybe I might not have much experience in AI or knowledge about it, but what was that barrier you had to break to kind of hop in, and then what did you get from it?
Well, man, that's a good question too. But I didn't really have any experience starting out, and I still don't. It's like it's not something that you necessarily get good at. Like it takes time. You
Right,
just
right.
have to learn and learn. But I feel like I started out with one. It was somebody that I looked up to. It was Cedric. Cedric, the
Oh,
guy was
Cedric.
pretty
Yeah,
smart.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he's
So
yeah. Okay, he goes.
I looked
He's
up
at
to him.
Microsoft right now, right? I believe so.
Yeah, he's at Microsoft
Yeah,
right now. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Hopefully, I could
looked
get
up
him
to
on the
him
show
because
one
of
day.
his background and everything. Cedric is a great guy. Cedric is a great guy.
Yeah,
We could
yeah,
definitely make that happen for
yeah. We got to get him on. We got to get him on the show one day.
sure.
I'll
Okay.
reach him.
Okay. Yeah, we could definitely make that happen. I could definitely try to reach out and see his availability if you need help with that. But
No
Cedric
problem.
is a great guy. I look up to him. It's like, for one, you also have to find people that you look up to, or like little competitions that you can have with people. It's like he was that one person I looked up to, or like had my little mini competition that I wanted to have with him. It's like he didn't know I was competing with him, it's like you just have to set a ceiling for yourself and then try to sort of break through that ceiling. So Cedric was one I wanted to like either surpass or get better, or like just looked up to. So for at that time, he was a part of AI Club, and then I looked at his background and things that he was doing. That was pretty cool. I was like, okay, let me get involved. He was also a part of a lot of things around campus. So I was like, I'm following those little things that he was a part of. Everything kind of didn't make sense to me, but the AI Club thing made sense. So I saw a few posts that he made on his Instagram. I checked it out, the event, and then I just kind of loved the one event that they did, which the one event that they did was Spotify playlist that they sort of had AI curate like a custom playlist for you. So that was the one event that I went to, and then from there it was just kind of instant love for it because I was like, okay, AI could automate my life. Why not,
Mm,
kind of look into that? So I think that was the first instance of me sort of seeing the capability of AI, even though I heard about it, ChatGPT, this and that. Like this was my first personal like experience of seeing it do something cool enough for me. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm interested now. And then from there, I just kind of started showing up to club meetings and club events, and then just listening. From that listening, I was around a lot every Tuesday at 6. I'm there. We're playing games, they're talking, they have guest speakers come in from different companies, alumni companies, partners, everybody. And then from there, I just kind of kept getting involved. Even though I don't understand most of it, you show up and then you show out. Even if you don't
okay.
understand it, you use the same very AI, ChatGPT, to explain the very concept that they taught in class or they taught at the session that you don't understand. So that's what I kept doing over and over and over. And then maybe if they did like a activity, if I didn't get it, I'll go back on my own and try to figure it out. So that's how I got involved and I stayed involved. And then club elections came around, and then I got involved in that. And then I applied for like a director of marketing, and then I went for that. And then through there, I was able to get involved within the back end, administrative aspect of things. And then from there, you had to be at every meeting. So
Now you're
during
forced to
those
be there.
meetings, well, not necessarily forced to be there, but like, you just have to be there to make sure everything worked.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you're part of a team now.
Right,
So I
exactly.
think from there, the lectures that they will give, the people that they will have come in and talk, the presentations, the events, the hackathons that we ended up hosting, just being a part of that and then learning. So I put myself in an uncomfortable situation, and then I just kept doing it. I kept doing it, listening, and then I was able to pick up on little lingos. At first, I didn't know a lot of the things that they were saying. I'm like, yo, what's going on?
What's
Like, I
going
get
on?
that I'm at a third school, but like, I still don't get. But then you start picking up. So it's like you just have to be around that environment a lot, and then you start becoming. It's like be around who you want to be, or like
Mm.
who you aspire to be, or just who you're competing to be. So I think just being around those environment, I started picking up those little things, and slowly but surely, I'm getting there. So that was a little story about it.
And that's kind of what's it called? That's almost like, for example, let's say if I took you. Do you speak French?
A little, but
Okay.
the basics.
Do you
I
speak
forgot it all.
do you speak Portuguese?
No, no,
Okay,
no.
so if I dropped you in the middle of Brazil, right, you probably like be like, okay, what's going on here right now? But after,
Uh-huh.
I can promise you, after 5 6 months, you'll be able to get
Yep.
around. You'll be able to get around no problem,
Yep.
right? And the same thing
That's
applies in this situation.
Yep. That's a great way to put it, Mama Dude. That's
It,
a
it
very great way to put
it
it.
is a great way because like That's just how humans work, right? And I think people get it. That's why people are afraid of challenges and problems, because they think to themselves, there's no way I can ever get this. You're looking at this and you're like, there's no way I can ever get this, right? But just kind of putting yourself in that situation, right? And just putting yourself in around people and surrounding yourself around people that just kind of know about the topic you want to get better at or do what you actually want to do. Just getting around them every single day, right? I don't know if you heard of RITSEC, the cybersecurity club at RIT. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
This one guy was telling me, like, they're sitting there talking about all this kind of stuff, talking about shells, reverse shells, all this metasploit, all this. I'm sitting there like, yo, what the heck is you guys talking about? You know what I mean? But like he said, like, don't worry. He calls it osmosis, which I don't think. I mean, I'm not a big biology guy about it. I think that has to do something else in biology. But he said it's called
Mhm.
osmosis, where you just sitting there, you'll just automatically just pick things up, right? And it's so
Yeah.
true, right? The things that they were talking about then that made absolutely no sense. I can talk about them in like everyday conversations, right? So, and that's important. Like for the audience listening, if you haven't picked up, like if you haven't picked up yet, I'm gonna spit it out for you, right? And it shows like what Emmanuel has to say just shows the importance of listening, right? Listening more
Mhm.
than you talk, right? That's one big thing. And putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. Those are the. If there's anything you have to take away from this episode, take away those. If you haven't taken away from it yet, I don't know what you're doing, right? But if there's things to take away, it's those two big things, right? And I just want to
Yep.
point that out real quick because the themes, it's such an amazing recurrence, right? It's not necessarily, you don't need any secret tips, any secret like methods or anything. It's just a simple, proven, time and tried, tested methods that work, right? And that
Mhm.
you've embodied and delineated. So that kind of interests me, right? So if we talk about AI, and you also did mention earlier, you like to geek out over neuroscience, right? So
Yeah.
is there any similarity there? Is there any similarity between like AI and neuroscience, and within neuroscience, something that you're passionate about, something that you find as a hobby, do you plan on taking that into your works as you go on in entrepreneurship and technology and business? Can you walk us a little bit through about that?
Okay. I could. Yeah. I feel like for one, my kind of interest within like neuroscience at first was just like the human brain. We have it within our heads. Everybody has a brain within their heads. If not,
Right.
you're just not thinking.
Yeah.
But that aside, it's like my thing was, what if we can map it out, like computationally, fully map out the human brain, which is nothing new. We're currently in the works of doing that.
Neural
I think the
networks.
first ever mapped out brain that we have is like a fly, and I've
Okay.
forgotten the scientific name for the fly, but even that alone took years to get there. So what if we could computationally map out the human brain? And that's kind of why, as I said, full circle moment. That's kind of why when I told you I came in as a with microelectronics student, that's kind of why. Because one, if you take it back, the chips that needs to be capable of storing these data and everything, somebody has to pioneer that and work on that. So I was like, okay, I want to be able to pioneer that chip and design something that
Right.
kind of ends up be used to work. So it's like it was a full circle moment with that. But then I'm like, okay, I just want to be part of the medical aspect of this and just be part of the research aspect. But my idea was, what if we could computationally map out the human brain? And that was my interest for a while because that kind of dealt with. I've seen people around me with like mental health afflictions and issues that they were dealing with mentally, and even now,
Yeah.
like I have people around me going through that. I was like, if we're able to fully map it out, we could simulate those little sort of neuron firing s- that exactly matches somebody going through that affliction. And then,
Wow.
different
Okay.
situations that we run, we could see, okay, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna take out, this is what we're gonna add. Are we able to treat it or get rid of it? And a lot of things can be done and sort of solved through it. But that was like my naive, like childish high school idea that I had alongside me coming in. So that was a thing for a while for me. And then from that interest, I was like, okay, if that's not if I can't contribute to it in any way, what if can I just help? Can I just create something that helps? Can I just create or do something that helps? So it's like if you can't able if you're not able to help the bigger picture, I feel like just start with the little things, and then from there you could just make your way up. But it's like neuroscience kind of go hand in hand with the idea of AI, because essentially it's like think of AI like what we're trying to get to is like AI just having a mindset of its own. And if we're able to sort of computationally create something like this, and we could definitely model AI after that and have it do something similar to it. So it's like that's kind of where my interest lies. It's just it wasn't within the AI aspect or AI realm of things. It was more of like the anatomical aspect of things at first. But you know, things change, things move on. So I think there's always room to pivot.
And honestly, that's a fantastic addition on top of actually our first episode with Derek McToomey. I think you guys would definitely get along together. You guys definitely talked about AI and not just how we are advancing AI to get to a point where it's almost thinking has a mind of our own, right? Mind of our own as humans, right? And why I did find it interesting, you did talk about mapping out, right? Using neuroscience to map out, say mental disorders or any psychological disorders that are happening. And you also mentioned, it's kind of a bit of a naive idea, but I mean, I thought it seemed pretty interesting. Like, do you know how realistic that thing it possibly is for something like that? Is that something that you plan on working on?
Oh, it's very realistic. It's not something that I plan on working on and get started. It's already there's a huge project going on in collaborations with different sort of neuroscience departments and federations across the world. The Human Connectome Project, which they're currently working on. They're trying to map out the human brain. But as I said, there's billions of neurons that we have to map out. So it's just the like it's very viable, which they're already doing it. But like just like a tidbit of like section of the human brain for them to map out is going to take a lot of computational power. It's going to take a lot of storage, which we don't have. So it's like it's possible, but achievable within our lifespan? That's the question that I feel like a lot of people are trying to answer. Because it is possible. It's like I said, the Connectome project. That's what it aims to do. Is just map out the human brain entirely, and they're working on that. But it's just there's limitations with computation power that we don't have, storage, things of the sort. But it is possible. So my idea was, contribute some way or some shape or some form. That's what I figured I wanted to do.
So like one of the things we like we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah,
One of the things we
yeah.
have to wait and see. So then, building upon that, right? The future, right? So, what does the next 5 to 10 years look like for you, right? You have so much different things going on. For example, your drive for entrepreneurship, right? Your drive for neuroscience, your drive for technology in general, right? So, what does the future look like for you? What are you things that you're hoping on accomplishing? Things that you want to see get done?
Within the next 5 to 10 years, let's see. And it's like I feel like for one, definitely get done with undergrad.
Right.
And once undergrad is done, I'm looking forward to going into graduate studies. But
Oh,
I
okay.
kind of want to pivot into pre-med within graduate studies, or if not pre-med, business administration, one or the other. And if I'm to go on the pre-med track, I'm planning on enlisting into the military, which I've kind of am in preparations for to take my tests and everything
Right.
to, because I was supposed to do it undergrad, but I had to put a pause on it just to finish undergrad first and then tackle that. So
Right.
if I'm taking a pre-med track, I'm gonna go into the military and have them pay for anything medical school for me, just so I could be able to, come out graduate without too much
Yeah,
financial stress.
debt free, and especially with pre med
Yeah,
medical school.
yep, they'll take care of it all. And if not that, if I go into the business administration portion of things, I'm just gonna. I think I just have to narrow down a HBCU school or any school that I feel like just fits that or is able to help me get that edge up, and then go work part time or work full time, and then take business take the classes online. So just kind of going hand in hand with that. So within the next 5 to 10 years, I'm hoping I'm done with undergrad and trying to narrow it down between these two options.
So I mean, right now with your foundation, you've already set up right now here at RIT,
Yep.
right? I'm 100% confident. Of course, we can't really say. I mean, I'll say 99% because we never know. We never God. It's all in God's hands, right? At the end of
Yeah.
the day, but you're on a great track. You're absolutely on a fantastic track. Especially whether business, pre med, technology. It's absolutely fantastic, right? And
Yeah.
the fact that you've learned so much lessons along the way, right? Especially that kind of helped you, especially within entrepreneurship, communication portions, being a people person, speaking to other people, speaking, getting an idea, and then presenting it, putting it out there to make it actually viable, right? Or then just put yourself in uncomfortable situations, within neuroscience, right? Just learning neuroscience at first and then transition that into AI, which you didn't have much idea in at first, but then at the end you just dove deeper into it to a point where you're on the administration for a club, right? And that's
Yeah.
those are fantastic, very big takeaways, right? So that you just kind of add like the bow tie to everything. If there's one thing, right? If there's one last piece of advice you give to anyone watching right now or listening right now. There's that one last piece of advice that you feel cannot be missed or overstated. What would that be?
I feel like I definitely say, and let's see, it's like nobody ever figures it out. It's like, trust me, nobody ever figures it out because I don't know. I still haven't figured it out. And it kind of sounds like I do. Or sometimes it seems like it to other people as you talk about it. You just
Right.
have an idea, but ideas change, ideas pivot. So nobody ever figures it out. But I think what you have to have is just that perseverance to keep going. Because for one, if you just give up just because something isn't working out, then it's just not going to work out. But having it in you to keep going. Okay, cool. I tried this. This isn't working. What else can I try? So I think just having that perseverance to keep going and trying new things, if this one idea doesn't work, is definitely a big factor. But we never figure it out. I mean, we've heard stories about people don't make it within their 20s, they don't make it until their 30s, or if not in their 30s, their 40s, or if not in their 40s, their 50s. It takes time. So it takes time to make it, is what I want to say. So uh, just persevere through and stick it through. Take it one day at a time. You'll eventually get there. That's a lesson that I had to figure out and find out for myself from my freshman year into my second year, and then my third year. Now I'm going into my fourth. So it takes time for sure.
And I like what you said, especially, taking it one day at a time, right? If you know with the legendary coach, of the Niners, Billy Walsh, right? He says the score will take care of itself, right?
Yeah.
If you do what you have to do from a day to day basis, do your own things from day to day, right? And persevere through it, right? And going through that journey, not necessarily fixating upon the final goal of what we're trying to figure out, but rather the steps involved to get to what we're trying to figure out, right?
Hmm.
And I feel if you take the time to iron those steps out, you take the time to make it 1% better than it was yesterday, right? And
Yeah.
understanding that you might not know what it is today, you might not know what it is tomorrow, and honestly, that's okay.